Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Thanks for joining me again on the Whimsy Stamps channel. Today we have another Halloween shaker card. I feel like I've done a lot of those lately, but I'm loving it. But absolutely no stamps are being used today. So as you can see, we're just going to jump right in. I have the Polka Dot Stencil and I'm lining it up on this frame. Now this is actually 3 layers of very thin cardstock. It was just left over in my stash. It was from another project and it was sitting on my desk and I decided to use it. So I've layered up 3 of those flimsy frames and now I have one solid frame. And I am using yellow, green, and blue, as you can see, and those colors are pulled from the shaker mix that I'm going to be using. I will be using the Mr. Oogie Boogie confetti mix from This Calls for Confetti. And I just felt like this polka dot stencil really was reminiscent of the confetti bits. And then, of course, like I said, I pulled the colors to coordinate with that, and I think it's really fun. At first, I wasn't sure because it didn't feel like there were going to be enough dots with the way that I had it lined up. But I think it turns out super cool, and it just kind of feels like the confetti are actually flowing out of the frame. Look at that. Look how cute. Now I adjusted that stencil a time or two so I could add in a few more polka dots. And because it felt like the confetti would be flying out, I decided to add just a little bit of color to the outside. So I'm taking green and just using basically the leftover green in the brush to just add just a light touch of green to the edge. And then I decided to bring in some black, but I could not tell how much of either I had. So a big tip that I have for you is if you're unsure how much you have or what your actual color is or the tone or intensity of your color, put it up against something solid white because that will give you a very good indication of all of those things, and that's why you saw me put it up against that piece of white scrap. So in the meantime, I have added a very strong double-sided adhesive to the back side of the frame, and that's where I added the acetate because that becomes in the shaker window, right? I trimmed it down to size, removed the protective film, and now I have my double-sided foam tape, and you saw me doubling it up. That's because I want the shaker well to be not nice and deep, but deep enough to be able to accommodate these shaker bits. This is the Mr. Oogie Boogie confetti mix from This Calls Confetti, as I mentioned earlier, and the Mr. Oogie Boogie bits are quite a bit thicker than the regular confetti. So I just wanted all of the bits to be able to shake around freely. So you saw me using my, what is it called? My anti-static pouch bag because I want to remove the static from the acetate as well as the stick only from the inside of those adhesive strips though, because you don't want your shaker bits to be sticking there. So use that to get rid of the static and the stick, and then I added my background. Now on this one, I wanted that solid stark white background. I wanted that so that all of my colors would be able to play nicely and be able to pop and be prominent. But usually I'll add another piece of acetate. That gives me more freedom to kind of play with my background a little bit more. Because as you'll recall, I'm a more is more kind of girl. Excuse me, leaving anything solid white is kind of hard for me sometimes. As you can see, I have taken the Halloween Scarecrow die and cut it out twice. This die is absolutely amazing. Now keep in mind that there are, I don't even know, many ways that you can use this particular die. I just chose this way today. So I've cut it out of foam, that's up in the top left corner, and the piece that I'm working on now obviously is black glitter cardstock. And I'm adding those little bits of yellow scrap behind the face, and you can see what that did. That made that face pop. Now I think it just added to the creep factor, but I love it. So I'm layering up both the foam and the cardstock piece, being very patient with it, adjusting it, because this die is it's delicate, it's drippy, it's very thin in places, and you just want it to, you know I'm not a perfectionist, but you want it to be as perfect as you can get it without adding stress to your life. So just kind of go slow. Make sure you have enough wet glue so that you can move things around. to get them lined up nice and neat. And then I take my tweezers and I pull off any little excess hairs that often come from die cutting. And then I add my my liquid glue to the back of it. I use enough to make it stick, but then I tap it off just a little bit on my paper towel so that the excess glue doesn't seep out or ooze out from behind him. So as always, I'm auditioning him, trying to figure out exactly where I want him. Placement is so important. And I ultimately decide to go with the upper third of the card. I didn't want him in the middle or at the bottom, and there would be pros and cons for both, obviously, but I decided the top to keep him prominent. Even when the shaker bits are at the bottom, I just wanted him to be the focus, the center of attention. I mean, look at him. And here I'm adding the bats, both the foam bats as well as the glitter bats. I'm using all of them. And I'm just keeping an uneven number on both sides, 3 on one, 5 on the other. I feel like that just is more pleasing to the eye. And then once I get all of those on, it's just shaker time, shaker. So while we're watching the end of this process, and we'll look at some of the up close pictures, just guys, let me know. Do you like this? I mean, he's not for everybody. I adore him. I think he's fantastic. I definitely had to get him. And let me know, do you like him? How would you use him? I mean, this is just one of many, many different ways that you can use this guy. And if you've seen any of the design team inspiration, what has been your favorite or what style? Because he's been used in a lot of different ways. So let's take a second and just look at that amazing shake. That Oogie Boogie mix, will you look at that? The play on color, the play with light. Oh my gosh, Mr. Oogie Boogie is absolutely amazing in those clay bits. And I love the way the colors coordinate. And oh, those little sparkle gems, the blue sparkle gems, just add more texture. And they're faceted, so the light plays more on those as well. So it's a shaker good time, y'all. A shaker good time. Yeah, so let's look at these close-ups. We can just see how he turned out. Let me know your thoughts. Whatever you want to talk about, guys, drop me a comment downstairs. I'd love to hear from you, especially about how you would use him and what your favorite inspiration has been so far. And, of course, anything you want to talk about downstairs in the comments, I will meet you there. I would love to connect with you down there. And speaking of connection, you know, we would love to have you join us on our Facebook inspiration page, as well as Pinterest and Instagram. We would just love to connect with you on all of social media platforms. And we would love it if you'd give this video a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, we'd love it if you would. We'd love you to come back and join us again. And until next time, guys, thank you for spending some more time with me this morning. And this is Nancy, the Handy Scandy for Whimsy Stamps. Until next time, mwah, I'm out.